Welcome everyone to the deep dive. We're here to really get into the details and hopefully spark some fascination along the way.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Today we're diving into, well, a truly foundational text, Genesis chapter 17.
Mm-hmm.
And as Messianic believers, our mission here is to really explore Yahweh's covenant with Abraham, those profound name changes, and the institution of circumcision.
Yeah.
All through a Torah-honoring, Messiah-centered lens. We're using a detailed report today that helps unpack this really pivotal chapter.
And pivotal is definitely the right word. I mean, if you think back to Genesis 16
Right.
with Abraham and Sarai trying to, help Yahweh along.
Yeah, the whole Hagar situation.
Exactly. It resulted in Ishmael and, well, all the complications that came with that. So what's really striking in chapter 17 is how Yahweh just re-engages.
Cuts right through the human effort.
Totally. He cuts through all that human striving and just reaffirms his promises. It's such a powerful declaration that this covenant, it rests solely on Yahweh's divine power and grace.
Not on our own efforts, which, let's be honest, often fall short.
Exactly. It reminds you, his plan is perfect even when, ours really isn't.
You feel that shift almost immediately, don't you? Right there in Genesis 17, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
Abraham's 99, still no promised son with Sarah. And then Yahweh appears, identifying himself as El Shaddai.
Yeah.
For me, that name, El Shaddai, right at that moment, I mean, it seems impossible from a human standpoint. It just carries so much weight. What's the immediate impact, do you think, of Yahweh revealing himself like that as El Shaddai?
Oh, it's incredibly profound. El Shaddai. It's often translated God Almighty, or maybe All-Sufficient One.
Right.
But what's really fascinating, especially when you look at it from our perspective, is the potential root of Shaddai.
Okay.
It might come from the Hebrew word shad, which means breast.
Breast, like a mother.
Exactly. If that connection holds, it paints this really intimate picture of Yahweh as the nurturing, all-sufficient provider, like a mother providing everything for her child.
Wow. For an elderly, barren couple.
Can you imagine? Their natural hope for an heir was long gone. So this wasn't just about raw power, like almighty. It was deeply personal. Nurture.
A power that brings life from barrenness.
Yes. Fulfilling promises against all odds. That specific understanding of Elohim's nature right then, it must have been, well, both incredibly comforting, but also really challenging.
Comforting in his provision,
Yeah.
challenging in what?
Yeah.
The command that follows?
Precisely. Because right after this powerful, nurturing revelation, he says, walk before me and be blameless.
So it's grace, but also a call to respond.
It's a call to integrity, to obedience, a renewed commitment, knowing he is indeed all-sufficient. You trust him, so you walk his way.
That really sets the stage for everything else in the chapter, doesn't it?
It really does.
And speaking of transformation, let's talk about one of the most, dramatic moments in the name changes. Genesis 17.
Yeah, huge.
First Abram to Abraham in verse 5,
Yeah.
then Sarai to Sarah later on. Verse 5 says, no longer shall your name be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham. For I have made you the father of a multitude of nations. What's really going on here? It feels like so much more than just a new nickname.
Oh, way more. You have to remember, in ancient Near East, a name change by a king, or especially by a deity, that was a profound act.
Like redefining someone.
Completely redefining their identity, their character, their whole destiny. Abram meant something like exalted father. Noble, sure, but maybe limited to his own line.
Okay.
Abraham, though, father of a multitude. And Sarai, my princess, becomes Sarah, simply princess.
Implying something broader.
Yes, a universal scope, a royal legacy. It wasn't just a new name. It was Yahweh realigning them to this vast new purpose he was creating through them, a declaration of who they would become by his power.
A divine commissioning, essentially.
Yeah.
But I think our source material mentions something else, like a hidden detail in the names themselves.
Ah, yes. And this is where it gets really compelling, especially from a Messianic viewpoint.
Go on.
The Hebrew letter, He, it was added to both names. Abram to Abraham, Sarai to Sarah.
Hey, what's the significance of that letter?
Well, Hes is often associated with divine breath, with creation, with grace. Think about Genesis 2, Yahweh breathing life into Adam.
Okay, I see.
It's almost like Yahweh is doing that again here, breathing new life, new purpose into them, making them new creations for his chosen line through Messiah.
Wow. So it's not just a role change. It's like a spiritual recreation.
Exactly. A fundamental shift by divine breath, establishing them as the parents of this new spiritual family line.
Breathing new life into a new identity.
Yeah.
That's a really powerful image of spiritual renewal.
It is.
And then woven through this whole chapter is this idea of an everlasting covenant. Genesis 17:7. I will establish my covenant between me and you and your descendants after you throughout their generations as an everlasting covenant.
Brit Olam.
Brit Olam. What does that truly mean, everlasting covenant, especially for us as believers in Yeshua today?
Well, the repetition of Brit Olam, you see it again in verse 13. It's not just for emphasis. It underscores something absolutely foundational in, Jewish thought.
Yeah,
That this promise is so tied to Yahweh's own character that it cannot be revoked. It can't be changed by human failure.
So its validity lasts forever, across all generations.
Precisely. It's not conditional on whether humans keep their end of the bargain. It's based entirely on Yahweh's unchanging nature, his word. His promise lasts because he lasts.
And he specifically says it's through Isaac, right? Not Ishmael.
Absolutely. Verse 21 makes that crystal clear. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac. It directly addresses and sort of overrides those human efforts from chapter 16. No ambiguity.
It's a promise rooted completely in Yahweh's unchanging character. And we see this echoed later in the Tanakh too, don't we?
Oh, definitely. Think about Psalm 105. It recalls Yahweh's covenant oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Right.
And it explicitly affirms its eternal nature, his unwavering faithfulness. It just reinforces that what Yahweh promises, he performs. This Brit Olam is like the bedrock.
The foundation for everything that follows.
Exactly. All subsequent covenants build on this, and it all finds its ultimate fulfillment, its confirmation in Yeshua, our Messiah.
Okay, so we have this eternal covenant established purely by Yahweh's character. And then he gives a sign, a tangible physical mark, circumcision. Genesis 17:11. And you shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be the sign of the covenant between me and you. Why this specific sign? What's the deeper meaning, especially for us?
That's a really crucial question because, other cultures in the ancient Near East did practice circumcision.
Right, it wasn't unique to Israel in that sense.
Not entirely, but the Israelite practice was distinct, very distinct. Surrounding cultures often did it around puberty.
Why then?
Usually for social reasons, marking status, maybe fertility, readiness for marriage, reasons very centered on human life stages and achievement.
Okay, but Yahweh's command was different.
Totally different. It had to be performed on the 8th day after birth. Verse 12 is specific.
The 8th day. Why? What's significant about that timing?
I think this timing is a powerful theological statement, a polemic almost.
Against what?
Against human-centered merit. Performing it on an 8-day-old infant, well, it emphasizes that covenant membership is an unearned gift.
The baby can't do anything to deserve it.
Exactly. It's pure divine grace, bestowed on someone who hasn't achieved anything, hasn't matured, hasn't earned it through effort. It makes it crystal clear that Israel's relationship with Yahweh is based on his sovereign choice, his faithfulness, not their works.
And, thinking messianically, Yeshua himself.
Yes. That detail is incredible. Yeshua was circumcised on the 8th day. It aligns him perfectly with the covenant people from birth, shows his full humanity, his connection to these very promises made to Abraham.
Wow. So he enters the covenant in the same way, through grace. So it's a physical sign, yes, but you're saying it points to something deeper, a spiritual reality Yahweh intended all along.
Yes, absolutely. This physical act powerfully prefigures a spiritual reality, one that becomes absolutely central in the new covenant.
You mean the circumcision of the heart?
Exactly that. The prophets talked about it. Moses in Deuteronomy 30, verse 6, Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 4. They spoke of a future time when Yahweh himself would perform this circumcision of the heart.
An internal change, not just external.
An internal transformation. A cutting away of the foreskin of the heart, so to speak, the rebellion, the sinful desires, enabling us to truly love and obey Yahweh from the inside out.
And this internal transformation, this is fulfilled through Yeshua.
Precisely. This prophetic promise finds its ultimate fulfillment through Yeshua's atoning work, his death and resurrection, and then through the indwelling of the Ruach HaKodesh.
The Holy Spirit.
Yes. The Spirit gives believers a new heart, a new nature. Paul actually calls this the circumcision of Messiah in Colossians 2:11.
Oh, okay.
He describes it as a spiritual act that removes the body of sin. And Paul warns against getting stuck on just the external ritual without that genuine internal change. It's about being truly set apart for Yahweh, heart and soul.
Aligning our deepest desires with his commands.
That's the goal.
It's becoming really clear then that Genesis 17 isn't just history about Abraham. It's like a blueprint pointing straight to Yeshua the Messiah.
Yes, exactly. A prophetic blueprint.
How else does this chapter serve as that blueprint, really showing us Yeshua's centrality in all this?
Well, Understanding this through our Messianic Jewish lens is just crucial here. It lets us see how the Torah, Yahweh's foundation, consistently points forward.
Okay.
Take the promise made to Abram's seed zera in Hebrew. It's singular.
Seed, singular,
Yeah.
not seeds, plural.
Right. Many might just read that collectively, thinking descendants. But from our viewpoint, understanding Yeshua is the key. And as Paul really clarifies in Galatians 3,
Galatians 3.
that singular seed prophetically points to one specific individual, Yeshua the Messiah.
So the ultimate fulfillment of the covenant promises land, blessing, all concentrated in him.
It is. And through him, being joined to him by faith, those blessings then extend out to everyone.
So that means us. As followers of Yeshua, whether we're Jewish or Gentile, we become spiritual heirs of Abraham.
Yes, absolutely. Paul states it so clearly in Galatians 3:29. If you belong to Christ, then you are Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise.
Wow.
It fulfills that original promise way back that all the families of the earth will be blessed through Abraham. It's this beautiful unfolding plan of Yahweh showing his heart for all people.
And it elevates the promise beyond just physical land, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I remember reading that Abraham himself seemed to be looking for more.
You're absolutely right. If you bring in the book of Hebrews, chapter 11.
Hebrews 11, the faith chapter.
Exactly. Verses 10 and 16 commend Abraham because he wasn't just focused on the physical land he was walking on. He was looking forward.
To what?
To a city with foundations whose architect and maker is Elohim. And to heavenly country.
A heavenly
And lifts the whole promise. The physical points to a greater spiritual reality, a heavenly inheritance secured by Yeshua for all believers in the new creation. It reminds us where our true citizenship, our ultimate home, really is.
That's a massive perspective shift, a truly grand vision. But even with these incredible promises, human nature, well, it still shows up, right? We can't just skip over Abraham's reaction in verse 17.
Ah, the laughter.
Yeah. He falls on his face, but then he laughs when Yahweh tells him 90-year-old Sarah will have a son. What's the significance of that moment? That very human, maybe even disbelieving laughter.
It's such a wonderful detail, isn't it? And it really highlights Yahweh's incredible grace. Because that human laughter, that moment of doubt, maybe even disbelief, it becomes the very name of the promised child, Isaac, Yitzhak. Meaning he laughs.
No way, I hadn't connected the name directly like that.
Isn't that amazing? Yahweh, in his faithfulness, takes Abraham's moment of human weakness, his skepticism, and transforms it into this perpetual reminder of his promise kept. Every time the name Isaac is spoken, it recalls Yahweh's faithfulness despite human doubt.
That is incredible. God turning our doubt into a testimony of his faithfulness.
And it connects beautifully back to Genesis 15, doesn't it? Verse 6.
Where Abraham believed Yahweh.
And it was credited to him as righteousness before the command for circumcision in chapter 17.
Oh, crucial timing.
Absolutely. Paul uses this exact point powerfully in Romans 4. Justification comes through faith, then the sign follows. Not the other way around. Faith first, not ritual first.
Such a powerful demonstration of grace working through our very human imperfections.
Yeah,
amazing.
It really is.
But okay, the covenant line is clearly through Isaac. Does that mean Yahweh just forgets about Ishmael?
Not at all. And this really shows Yahweh's heart, his compassion. Abraham actually pleads for Ishmael, that Ishmael might live before you.
Right, in verse 18.
And Yahweh's response, while clarifying the covenant is through Isaac, is full of blessing for Ishmael too.
He promises to bless him.
Yes. Promises to make him fruitful, multiply him greatly, father of 12 princes, a great nation. It shows Yahweh's providential blessing extending out even beyond the specific covenant line of promise that leads to Messiah. His love reaches far.
It's really good to remember. His care isn't limited.
Not at all.
So, okay, we've walked through this incredible chapter. What does this all mean for us? For followers of Yeshua today, living our lives, trying to walk faithfully, how do we apply this?
That's the key question, isn't it? And I think Genesis 17 gives us some profound applications for our daily walk.
Like what?
First, I think, is resting in Yahweh's all-sufficiency, his El Shaddai nature.
Trusting the nurturing provider.
Exactly. When we face situations that feel impossible, or when we confront our own failures like Abraham and Sarah trying to force things with Hagar, this chapter is a powerful call to stop relying on ourselves.
And lean into El Shaddai's power instead.
Yes. Trust him. Turn from self-reliance. He alone brings his purposes about, and he truly provides everything we need. It's a call to deep trust.
That's a huge challenge in our world, but so necessary. What else?
Second, embracing our new identity in Yeshua. We talked about the name changes.
Right, becoming Abraham's spiritual seed.
Through Yeshua, our old identity, the one bound by sin and limitations, is replaced. We're given a new identity as a child of Yahweh, part of this covenant family.
And that comes with a calling.
Absolutely. It compels us to live a life reflecting that new name, that new mission, to honor Yahweh, to walk blamelessly before Him, which we can only do in Yeshua, and to be conduits of His blessing to the world around us. It's grace, but it calls for a response of holiness, living set apart.
Living out the new name He's given us. Makes sense. And third,
I think it brings us right back to that core concept, the heart.
circumcision of the heart.
Yes. That shift from the physical sign to the spiritual reality is a constant, vital reminder. It warns us against just focusing on external religious practices, even good ones, without the corresponding internal transformation.
Going through the motions isn't enough.
Never enough. As Messianic believers who cherish Yahweh's commands, we're called to wholehearted devotion. That spiritual renewal made possible only by Yeshua's sacrifice and the power of the Ruach HaKodesh living in us.
That's what enables true obedience.
That's what cuts away those fleshly desires, that rebellion, and enables genuine obedience born out of love. It's about truly aligning our deepest will with His. Inside-out transformation.
So as we kind of wrap up our deep dive into Genesis 17, wow, we've really uncovered some profound layers here.
We have.
Yahweh's everlasting covenant, grounded in His character, the incredible power and intimacy in His name El Shaddai, the completely new identity we receive in Yeshua, and this vital reality of the covenant needing to be written on our hearts.
These aren't just ancient stories locked in the past.
No, they feel like living words, speaking right into our lives today, guiding how we walk as followers of Yeshua.
As we wrap up today's study, let's maybe just pause and reflect on what we've learned and receive the blessings of Yahweh, and maybe leave you with this thought to ponder.
Okay.
Considering this foundational truth that Yahweh's covenant promises are ultimately fulfilled in Yeshua, and that we, through Him, are heirs not just of, a piece of land, but of whole heavenly inheritance. How does that grand eternal perspective reframe the way we navigate the challenges, the uncertainties of our walk here on earth? What does it really mean for us today to walk before Him and be blameless in light of His perfect eternal plan?